Hello everyone and welcome to my video guide on Metalfoes! First and foremost I want to say sorry Mustafa, I know you really wanted the Battle Wasp video that I keep saying I'll make, but I'll do it someday. Not today though, today's Metalfoes. So what's Metalfoes? Metalfoes are an archetype of fire psychic pendulum monsters with scales going from 1 to 8 and the shared effect to pop a scale, sorry, to set a Metalfoes back row, be it a spell or a trap card. And they become fusion monster. You know, the vehicles they ride on, they become just sort of armor a la Battletech. And they're very advantage oriented, as were all the pendulum decks of this era, and to an extent pendulum decks still today. So you know, competitively, Metalfoes have had a lot of relevance throughout 2018 to 2000, like even 2020, saw a resurgence in Metalfoes with the new support that they got and the release of Magician's Soul. It was a deck that was powerful, pure, but also really potent as an engine in decks that appreciated seeing their stuff blown up. Zodiac with Barrage, True Dracos with their continuous spells and traps, Yangzing in general, etc. And yeah, of course, the Metalfoes name to most of you will probably just be about this guy and you didn't even know he was a part of a larger archetype, which, you know, fuck this thing, and I hope it never comes back. So let's take a look at some of the Metalfoes cards. These are all the scales you'll be playing in Duel Links. Scale 1s, Scale 8s, as you can see. These are all level 4 lower. This is a level 7 monster. I'd say you should play 2 to 3 of each for practical reasons. Gold Driver and Volflame I think are the most important. Silver the Stealing, not so much, comparatively, but still play 2 to 3 of them. Rare Metalfoes Bismugear, which was the card that was added recently in the game, is not a normal monster. Instead, has an effect that when it's popped during the end phase of this turn, you get to add another Metalfoes card to your hand. And when I say another, that includes another Bismugear. So the idea is instead of just popping your scales in order to set them up in the extra deck. Now you're also trying to get advantage in the end phase, which is pretty good. I'd say play 3, definitely helps with your setups. Metalfoes Fusion is the, well, fusion spell, and it can recycle itself to draw a card, but you can activate it to fusion summon anytime, any number of times you want per turn. Before this whole Salamangreat shtick came about, this was a one-off. Now with decks being focused on playing cards like Didicro, Necro Valley, Cosmic Cyclone, this card is much more susceptible to being removed from a graveyard, and thus you'd be losing your main way of fusion summoning. So I'd say run 2 of this just to be sure. Full Metal Force Fusion is hard limited at 1. It's been in the game for a while now, as with most of this deck. It's a great disruption tool, considering it's a quick play. You cannot activate it the turn you set it, but you are going to be able to fusion summon on your opponent's turn, which can lead into some pretty cool things. So yeah, I mean, play the one of that you have. The Metal Force traps, counter and combination, are not bad per se, but they're slow and they clog your back row, which is really not something you want to have in this deck, considering you don't get free pen zones unless you're playing a devoted scale. The best thing about these cards is their ability to search all the Metalfoes. As you can see, counter, except the turn it was sent to the graveyard. Can add one face-up Metalfoes Pendulum monster from an extra deck to your hand, and combination is much better because if it's sent to the graveyard, you just get to add a Metalfoes monster from your deck, which we don't really have a way of abusing in Duel Links just yet. Maybe if Magician's Souls release, we could consider playing a couple combination of, well, combinations. Full Metalfoes Alcahest is the first fusion we'll be looking at. It's a defensive monster compared to the other ones, and it basically has a sort of like quick effect, relinquished effect, you know? It used to be very susceptible to Book of Moon for this reason, but as links dropped in the game, the usage of Book of Moon sort of dropped as well. Um, so definitely, definitely play 2 to 3 of this guy. It's one of the best disruption assets you have at your disposal. Metalfoes Mithrium is another great fusion monster. I didn't go over the materials, but this one requires one Metalfoes monster and any other pendulum monster will do. And its effect is pretty neat. Basically, it lets you recycle your Metalfoes cards in a graveyard, not just monster, but cards, so you can get back your one of full fusion, for instance, to target a card on the field and spin it back into the hand. It is targeting, but it is non-destructive, so it will go over things like Bale Links, Void Seer, etc. Um, Void Seer in the graveyard, I mean. And yeah, no, it's pretty good. It also has a floating effect. When it is sent to the graveyard from the field, you get to summon a Metalfoes monster from the graveyard or your extra deck, which means that using it as fusion material gets you another body on board. No, it's really cool. Definitely play 2 to 3 of this one. It is going to be one of your main assets in order to secure wins. The last important Metalfoes fusion is Orichalk. This one is, well, double piercing is pretty good. It does big damage, it kills Blue Eyes players in a single turn, and also when it's sent from the field to graveyard, you get to target a card on the field and destroy it. The idea is if you're going first, you wanna make this turn 1 set full Metalfoes with another Metalfoe in hand, and then you activate the full Metalfoes in order to go into Alk S, so you get to pop a card and relinquish still a monster. Which was pretty good. Definitely play 2 to 3 of this guy. I see lists playing only 1, and I don't really get it. Why would you play only one of one of the greatest monsters ever designed? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Also, this one requires specifically 2 Metalfoes monsters as materials, so it's not as flexible as Alkahest, which I think requires 1 Metalfoe and 1 normal monster. This one is the strictest of the fusions. You also have these two that were designed in the TCG as Super Poly targets, but we can't play Super Poly because it's hard limited 1, and we'd rather play full Metalfoes fusion. And they don't really do anything, they're just big numbers, they don't have any effects. I don't think you're ever going to be in a situation where going into Crimsonite would be a good idea, but you can make an argument for Adamante being a very specific generic one-off. Alcest also has an effect that allows you to use the monster it's equipped to it as material for a fusion summon, so you you probably can use it to go into Adamante, just to get rid of the damn thing. if yeah. Rescue Rabbit is not a Metalfoes card, but it's a great starter for the deck. It enables rank 4 plays, Xyz plays in general. I guess you could go into a rank 3 with Silvered. Not that you should, because it's pretty miserable. But it also baits disruption like nothing else. Like if your opponent sees you normal summon Rescue Rabbit, they're gonna be like, oh shit, oh I better take care of this. Nobody's going to ever let this resolve, which, well, if it doesn't resolve, it kind of sucks. But also, you got rid of one of your opponent's interaction points, which, you know, you can still keep playing afterwards. Play 3 of this guy. Rescue Hamster is a card I wasted a UR ticket on. Can you believe this? It's a more situational kind of guy. I'm still not sure to this day what it does. I have to read it every time I play this deck. And like on paper it looks really good, but there's a couple of conditions and strings attached, and I don't know, it's like I'm really glad when it resolves, but also I don't think I'd miss it if it didn't, you know? You can play none, you can play 2, you can play 1. Feel free to experiment, see what best fits you. Box of Friends is a worse Rescue Rabbit, considering it can only get 0 attack or defense monsters. Well, there's one target in the deck and it's stealing, and it doesn't allow you to go into any sorts of rank 4s or even rank 3s. All you get is a rank 2, and we don't really have great rank 2s in the game. It's a, like, I want to say budget replacement for Rabbit, considering it's in the same box as Metalfoes, but you shouldn't try to play both, in my opinion. At the end of the day, you're more likely to use the targets you get from Box of Friends and Rescue Rabbit as fusion materials, so their levels aren't that important, except when you want to retrieve them from the extra deck later on. But Rabbit's better, right? Yeah, it is. The Draco Slayer sort of engine that we've gotten recently with True Draco Face Off, I think this is worth trying out with the new Pendulum Basic Scale. Uh, but it does take a bunch of slots. All it does is sort of recycle your, well, cycle between your scales. I'm not entirely convinced this is, all that relevant, especially considering we can't even play Luster Pendulum because it's also a limited one. Fun. There's also the possibility of playing a small synchro package. Not that you should play all four of these cards together, but if you play Magical Libra, you can easily go into Ignis of Prominence, which very good card. And if you decide to play Halo, you can play Metalfoes Horus, which on summon gains immunity for the turn. And what's the second thing it does? Oh yeah, it allows you to brain control a monster on your opponent's side of the field, which is pretty good. The fact that it is unaffected during this turn is definitely going to trip some of your opponents out. Ending the prominence is pretty good removal if it resolves. This idea isn't from me, it came from the Reddit user username Egly, also known as Ilge. I think I'm saying it right. If I'm not, you can punch me in the face. Which is a really cool guy, helped me a lot when I was trying to learn this deck, gave me a bunch of his replays, indicators of what I would be doing right or wrong and stuff. So yeah, major props to him. This guide probably would not have happened without his help. Some of the consistency spell cards that you want to play, Painful Decision and Summoner's Art basically reads add a scale from deck to hand. Painful Decision has a wider area of search, so you can search for a low scale or a high scale depending on what you need. And it also sort of sets up Mithrilium, which, is pretty cool. Summoner's Art was only one target in the deck, which is Volflame, but I think it's still worth to play. You're basically playing up to 5 copies of Volflame in deck. And, it thins your deck, and it's a cool card. It's a cool card. I'd say play around 2 of each. Dark Factory of Mass Production I was playing at some point. It's a double warrior returning alive for normal monsters. I'm not a fan of it. I found it kind of too situational to be worth trying, and there are situations in which you'll be glad to have it, but most of the time I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to see that. I'd rather see something else. Especially considering we're playing less normal monsters now with Bismigir. And, in order for pendulums to be in the graveyard, they have to be specifically used as fusion material from the hand, which make this card not all that relevant in my opinion. You can try that one, I would advise not to. Enchanting Fitting Room is another tech from Ilge, username Egly. I don't know how to say it, man. You have to let me know. Which basically gets scales and Halo on board in order to go for synchro plays. Other than that very specific deck direction, I don't think it's a good idea to play. But it's a very funny card. For the skills, Light Barrier and Middle Edges mech are the one you're gonna see the most often. The idea is you want to play any skill that puts a free card on the board for you to pop. Like the skill that puts Mountain, the skill that puts Yami. I'm playing the skill that puts a Jama Country because, I get to play Chaz and that's cool. The difference between these skills and Light Barrier and Middle Edge mech is those later two put a card face up on the board only during your first turn, meaning that if you go second, your opponent doesn't get just a 3 pop with MST. Although one could argue that them using an MST that could have gone to your scale otherwise is a good thing. So yeah, also middle age mech makes your opponent think you're on mech knights, and I think that's very funny. You can also try to play with Pendulum Change Basic if you're playing Dracos or a Magical Libra or some sort of normal monster engine. I'm not gonna do that. I don't want to. Pros and cons of this deck. It's very fun. It's pretty consistent considering you have tons of searches and normal monster support has been made over the years without pendulums in mind. And then when they drop, oh, suddenly Summoner's Art is like a 3 of in Cleese, No, it's a really cool, consistent deck. Bismigir really does plus you, which is amazing. It's pretty versatile, and it's a pendulum deck, meaning that it is focused on generating and accruing resources and eventually outpacing your opponent. As for the cons, this deck is, in my opinion, pretty difficult to master. The fact that there are a lot of like varied plays you can make means that more often than not, there's a right play and a wrong play. It's not linear, and it's very easy to like mess up and lose the game because of it. Also, it's been disrupted. The deck being a combo deck means it has a lot of like critical choke points that one can abuse if they know them. And also, it really hates graveyard disruption. In general, I pasted the effect of Metalfoes Mithrilium here to discuss about a bit of ruling. Metalfoes Mithrilium's effect says you can target 2 Metalfoes cards in your graveyard and 1 card on the field. Shuffle the targets from your graveyard into the deck. And if you do, return the target on the field to the hand. So what happens there if my opponent DD Crows in response to my Metalfoes Mithrilium targeting, say, Gold Driver and Full Metalfoes Fusion, and my opponent gets rid of one of those two, this effect does not resolve because I have to very specifically shuffle the targeted cards into the graveyard. If it said shuffle them or I think very specifically shuffle them, sort of like ritual beasts do, it would have been able to resolve, but because it says those targets, it doesn't, and because this part doesn't resolve, the if you do clause does not apply, so you don't get to return a target on the field to the hand. This is really relevant considering, well, Infernoids exist, DD Crows exist, and you're probably going to have to contend with either of those. And yeah, it's a pendulum scale, meaning it's very dependent on setting your scales, having the proper balance of highs and lows in order to pendulum summon. Less so because it's more of a fusion-centric deck, but this is still pretty damning if you can't get your scale set properly. So yeah, this is the deck list that I'm currently playing. It's probably not optimal. I'm playing 25 cards and I'm thinking of cutting one steel and one silver to get closer to 20, especially considering the addition of Bismigir upsets the balance of scales I would have previously. I'm only playing one Pelfun Decision, by the way, even though I said to play two, because, well, I'm already at 25 cards. There's a very low chance of me breaking on scale, I think. And yeah, the extra deck is, I think, pretty standard with 2 of everything and 1 Adamante. And for my rank 4 of choice, I decided to go for Malevolent Spider. It's just the game-winning card on its own, even to this day. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that's my deck list. It's probably not optimal, but it's a solid basis to try and get a grip of the deck with, I think. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. Please like and comment and subscribe and stick for the replays that I'm either they're going to be like directly next to this video. So like if the video length is twice as long as it should be, that's because I put the replays in. And if it's not, it's because I'm decided to upload the replays in a separate video because this one is probably too long already. Either way, thank you for sticking by. And I will see you next time either with Metalfoes replays or maybe Battle Wasps. Probably not Battle Wasps, I'm sorry. Bye bye!